Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. And guys, man, UFC 294 this past weekend. I wanted to get on here Saturday night like I normally do after cards to talk about it, but, I was a little devastated. I can't lie. I didn't expect Volkanovski to probably come in here and win on 10 days' notice. But, man, it was just the scenes, man. I don't know if it's more so that I'm a Volkanovski fan or if I was rooting for him, or if it more so hurts because it's like, man, the only guy that's I know Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor and all these guys have beat Max Holloway, but since Max Holloway's become one of the greatest fighters ever and one of my favorite fighters and everything, since he's came into his own and after being champion and everything, the only one to really dominate him is Volkanovski, and to see Volkanovski get knocked out, and it was just tough because it's like, man, I always wanted Max Holloway to be that guy, but I was all last week. I was talking about how I thought Islam Makhachev was being, underrated somehow. Like one close fight with Volk, people were counting him out against Charles Oliveira, even though he had already finished him. And it was pretty cool. I got to say, shouts out to Islam Makhachev for that win. That was so impressive. I think the first high kick he threw was like 30 seconds into the fight. And just instantly, I was like, oh, I think I see a gap right now. Because, it normally makes sense, for the taller guy's always going to have the kicks wide open and especially to the body and more so to the head, too, especially somebody so short like Volk. Even though his guard's always up and he's always protecting his chin, there's still there's all that room right there still that somebody could easily get that chin up there. And it's way easier when a guy's way taller than you. So, it was absolutely just beautiful. Sad, I guess, but it was cool for Islam being in his home country just to remind people how dominant this man is. And we're finally here. We are finally here, guys. It's finally, is Islam Makhachev better than Khabib? And as crazy as it is, you got to feel bad in a way, just because Khabib did this with his dad, all these things. He's a true man, like honestly, a true man of his word. One of the most loyal, one of the most disciplined people of all time, and to walk away on top, it's just so impressive, man. And you got to take your hat off to him. But it does drive the question now that he retired and he had his cousin Islam Makhachev come in and just take over, and he's doing it in dominant fashion now. And he's kind of just doing everything that Khabib worked for. And of course, this conversation was going to come up as long as Islam kept winning. And here we are now. And that really, I'm kind of asking you guys, do you guys think Islam's better than Khabib? Because it's hard for me, because if we're sitting here, I don't think there's any secret that Islam Makhachev is a way better striker. If you guys have been keeping up with UFC and MMA and everything like I have, if you guys listen to Weighing In, Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson's podcast, for years, Josh Thompson and, Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez and Luke Rockhold and all these guys that train at AKA where Khabib and Islam and all these Dagestanis train, they've been saying it for years that Islam Makhachev might be, more complete than a Khabib. His striking's way better, his kicking's way better, everything together is way better, and he might even be a little better on the clinch and everything. And Khabib, as much, he knocked down Conor. We've seen him knock people out. We've seen him rock people. It was always his overhand right timing up a takedown, and it was more so just Khabib's dominance that made him so perfect. And that's where it's tough. Outside of a Gleison Tibau, who kind of made it a decent fight with Khabib, we never seen Khabib even tested. He was close with Dustin Poirier there a little bit. He almost got caught in the guillotine, but then got out of there, and then within seconds submitted Dustin Poirier. He broke, like I said, against the Gleison Tibau fight, he broke the takedown record in that fight. So it was like, was it even close? And Michael Johnson might have touched him once. And clearly with Islam, we've seen him knocked out, and we've also seen him get taken to the limits with Volk. So when it comes to, personally, yeah, Islam Makhachev might be a more pound for pound, more overall, maybe a better, well-rounded fighter, but Khabib had that dominance, man. I don't know. Khabib's always going to be number one for me when it comes to Dagestani wrestling and the fighters. I don't care if Islam goes out and wins 18 more fights before he retires. I know he's 31. He could go on to become double champ and everything. There was no doubt in my mind that Khabib could have done the same thing. I remember, I wish I was doing videos back when I used to say this, but there was a time when Khabib was just running everybody. And you had Usman at 170. You had Israel Adesanya just took the championship from Robert Whittaker. And then you had Jan Blachowicz at 205. And I was really sitting there like, man, they could do the Khabib tour right now, where his toughest fight at the time probably would have been Usman. But, I really actually would have probably took Khabib in a fight against Usman at that time, because Usman wasn't as great. He didn't have Trevor Whitman at the time. His striking wasn't that good. And I really think Khabib probably could have outstruck him and whatever, but I think that might have been his toughest fight. But guys, I don't care who you are. If Khabib would have got Israel Adesanya to the ground, there is no way Izzy would have won that fight. Yeah, if Izzy picks apart, keeps distance and everything, but there's no way in hell you guys could tell me. Like, Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez used to say this all the time, where Khabib was giving them fits, and they would beat him sometimes, but he would also beat them. And these guys were some of the most dominant wrestlers we've ever seen. And I don't know, man. He's got 100 pounds on him. Like, come on, man. Khabib, and tell me he wouldn't outwork Jan Blachowicz. I know Glover Teixeira is bigger, stronger, and whatnot, and a better submission artist, but do you think he was as active as Khabib? I'm telling you, like, I know Jan, if he touches Khabib once, it's a knockout. But I'm just, it's nice to finally see, but it's just kind of sad too, because one, we'll never see it either. Islam and Khabib are so close together. They don't, Khabib especially doesn't have an ego. Islam might a little bit so, because he's still fighting, but Khabib has completely walked away from the sport. This is something that it's just going to be, it's going to be us just talking about this thing, the ifs, the what ifs. Khabib does not care about any of that. He's already done his thing. He feels like his time's gone. It's Islam's time, so it's cool that they're like that and they're cordial. But I'm always going to pick Khabib, but I'm not mad at people saying Islam might be better. It's going to look worse because Islam's going to keep going on and probably win fights and have more defenses than Khabib, but you can never deny how dominant Khabib was. We never saw him in a close fight. Conor McGregor had a couple, he had some good wrist control in the first 2 rounds of their fight. Maybe had one round where Khabib threw it off, but I'm always going to be Team Khabib. He's the godfather of Dagestani wrestling, or Dagestani fighting, when it comes to MMA and the UFC more especially. I know his dad was huge into it. I know there's other people that led the train. But when it comes to who came first, like, he's like the Hoist Gracie, basically. Like, I know Hoist, had his brothers that were actually, better and, were actually probably smarter trainers and probably would have done better. But that's who we got. And that's why everybody in MMA knows Hoist Gracie. But, so I don't know, man. I love it a lot. It was absolutely insane to see Islam knock out Volk. I'm never going to say the 10 days notice thing mattered, especially with a knockout like that. If it was later in the fight and he had him gassed, then maybe. But shouts out to Islam. It sucks that we have these conversations, but it's cool to kind of think of. But if they ever did fight, man, I'm just going Khabib all day. I just think his dominance, I think his tenacity, and just the way he's able to finish fights was just absolutely insane. It's almost like, in other sports, man, we see other guys that maybe are better at practice, maybe more skillful all around, but maybe just during the games, you just can't bring it together, or their head's not right. And there's just people that are just way better when it comes to in-game performances. And Khabib is that guy. He's always showed up, always, delivered under the lights. And I'm just always going to pick him. But, I'm excited to see what Islam got going on. The Charles Oliveira fight sounds awesome. I'd love to see that rematch. Justin Gaethje fight, Dustin Poirier, all these things. Conor McGregor fight, Michael Chandler, all these fights, man, they sound phenomenal. Him moving up to 170, I cannot wait. He's a dog, absolutely dominant. It was cool to see. It was sad to see him knock out Volk. But, let's go, baby. Let's go, guys. This is awesome. Islam, we finally got another absolute dominant champion at 155. And it just so happens to be Khabib's cousin. And, I hate the whole GOAT thing, but let's quit it at least when it comes to 155 GOAT. Khabib's always going to be there. If it wasn't for Khabib leaving, Islam wouldn't even be there. But when it comes to who's better, Islam is definitely probably a better, well-rounded fighter, but the dominance is a big thing to me, and Khabib's always going to be there. So, as your boy, as always, Stephen Moustaris, you guys let me know what you guys think of the fight, how you guys felt, if you guys cried, if you guys were hyped for Islam, whatever. You guys let me know. This is why I do this thing. And, yeah, let me know who you guys think is better, Islam or Khabib. So, let's go, boys and ladies.